Hello and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Wednesday, November 11th, 2020. So happy 11/11 to everyone out there. Today's topic is called Sunrise+Surprise. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening November 8th through the 10th, 2020. And before we get into those sky observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, hao, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobrohonya, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dobry den, aloha winala, kalimera, and guten dag. And today's starter image is of a note of nature here. It's a mature avocado tree trunk, and unfortunately it was taken down unnecessarily for quite a frivolous reason. So I just want to give a little honor to this gorgeous tree. It was about 30 or 40 years old. Did not need to go, but we as humanity can do better than just casually taking out some trees that give us so much benefit. But anyway, let's get to some interesting things happening in the skies. All right, this one is called Odd Solo Cloud. As you can see, it kind of speaks for itself, but it was just an odd shape, very low in the sky, all by itself. And when I see things like this, if you've watched any of my other shows, which I hope you have, and anyway, welcome if you're new, and welcome again if you're returning. Thanks so much for stopping by here a while. But anyway, when I see a cloud like this, it just, with the strange character and the consistency of the quote-unquote cloud itself, just looks like some type of cloaking material. So I'm going to venture to say there's some type of cloaking craft happening in here. Just again, the oddity of it, kind of out on its own, a rogue cloud. The altitude is extremely low, and again, the consistency of this thing was very artificial looking. All right, this is called Craft Cloaking at Cloud Rim. Now, what's really interesting is I'm just really starting to pick up cloaking craft at the edges or silhouettes of the outlines of the clouds lately. And this is actually later in the afternoon. My previous show, I show a lot happening at the sunrise hours. But here we're just going to look at our areas of interest A, B, and C in this photo. There's a whole lot more going on actually in this photo and then also some other photos. So when I hit a letter on there, put a letter, it's just tagging some things that jump out at me right away. Doesn't mean it's all inclusive of everything going on in the photo. Now going forward, I'm going to talk about enhanced photo or photo enhancement. That simply means that I've altered edited attributes of the photo, such as color, saturation, brightness, contrast, things of that nature. And I do that just to draw some things out of the photo, just to highlight what we're talking about on a given slide. So here we go. We're going to look at A.1, B.1, C.1. So that just means whenever I have a point after it, it means I've edited attributes of the photo, so enhanced it, or zoomed in, or both. So in this photo, we just changed some of the contrast, some brightness, and some other things. And we're still looking at this area of interest around A.1, B, and C. So we go up to the point 2s. So B, we start to see something happening at the above of this cloud with something traipsing off to the left of it. Then C2, we see like a dome-like form. We're going to take a closer look at that. There seems to be a little disturbance down here too, which seems interesting. Then we're going to look over at 8.2, and we start to see these, which to me look like definite cloaking craft, but we're going to zoom in even more. So we go to 8.3. Again, we're looking at this little cluster over here, and just there's some stuff in here that looks like, regular structure that's kind of like a triangular shape with rounded corners. And again, this just seems a little suspicious. I mean, I've been looking at the sky enough to see that this definitely has characteristics of a cloaking craft to it, where there's more of a solid body here and maybe even a trail happening here, or this could be the front of it that's got a different level of cloak on it than this. Hard to say, but we're going to zoom in on all of this a little bit more. So to the right, again, B3, we're kind of looking at this area B as we progress upward, and it definitely looks like some type of object, and another one kind of sailing off of it with a vapor trail. And this is definitely looking even more dome-like, and we're going to take a look at all of it a little closer as well. So here we go. Here's that A area of that cluster. I know it's a little bit mappy, but bear with me. In the B area, again, we start to see sometimes it looks like pointed elliptical craft cloaking there with something shooting off of it. And then C.4, I mean, it's looking more and more like a very rigid dome structure. And then here again, there's some disturbance. Looks like something's kind of morphing or coming out of that cloud. Then we're going to look at B once again, even closer with more contrast and enhancement. Look at this. Definitely a pointed ellipse of some type, and this looks like a little craft shooting off from it with some vapor trail behind it. Or maybe it's not a craft, it could be some other object, but it definitely has some shadow and it has some shape to it. Then we go up to C, C.5 this time, and look how smooth that curve is, and the dome of it too. So I'm definitely calling that a cloaking craft. Now we look over here, here's that disturbance. I can't get to quite what that is, but it definitely felt like something was going on. of unnatural, like artificial in nature. Okay, the lower photograph is an original. I'm just still going to stick with B though for simplicity's sake, because it's still the area that we're looking at. It's just a little bit later in time though, and then we've got, this shape is starting to morph and change from before. So we look at B7, it's a zoom in with contrast in this, and again we're seeing some type of shape. Now we've got like a very rounded shape popping up, and again it looks like a vapor trail or something, speeding along here. So we look at B.8, and there we go with even more enhancement. We've got some type of curved object here, and again, to me, that definitely looks like a cloaking craft with a trail behind it, or that something is being shot out of this, cloaking assembly. See what you think is going on, though. All right, this is called Strange Cloud Forms and Cloaking Craft. Now, we're kind of in the same vicinity, just looking at a slightly different area of the sky, and we've got this weird trail going on, so we're going to take a better look at that, and we've got something popping up off the top of it. So let's look at it with some enhancement, 8.1. We see some kind of activity happening here. It's strange that this has some really dark black structure. Usually that does mean there's some type of cloaking craft or material in there. Whether it's, when I talk about cloaking craft, by the way, I'm talking it can be 3D, it can be interdimensional, it can be, something phasing, coming or going, but it definitely exhibits characteristics of something being solid in the sky. So here we go, we're looking at 8.1. That's really caught my attention even above this darker stretch here. And we start to see something that looks like ethereal, it looks like it's in the middle of cloak. And then we go to 8.3 and look at this, it almost looks like a little mini airplane on angle set to take off, or just sitting perched on top of this quote-unquote cloud. Now, is this just cloud, or is it some other type of cloaking craft? Who knows? But when I'm looking at 8.3 and 8.2, to me that's definitely some type of craft structure with a little bit of cloaking on it. Okay, now this gets exciting. This is a really fun sequence. It's called Cloaking Craft Emerging from Cloud. So I have A and then I have AA. Really, it's the same couple set of objects, just happening one ahead of the other in time. And then we've got this weird little drifting object here. It's really strange. We're going to zoom in on all of this, see what's going on. But look, we've got this little object and then a little one emerging out of this kind of cloud or cloaking material. So then we look to the right at AA, and look, that's where this was. Okay, these both were over here, and now they're toward this little fuzzy thing that we're going to take a look at. They've moved, and so they're in a pair, and definitely came out of this thing because I didn't see it beyond this little tuft. So I believe they've just emerged out of the cloud. Then we've got strange things happening above too in the cloud area. These, I'm not going to have time to get to these in this show. Usually I like to zoom and enhance whatever I can find of interest, but we're going to have to stick with these for now. So we're going to stay with the same pair. If you follow me in the lower left-hand corner, we're going to look at the same photo that we had before, but with some contrast. Again, we get like two little weird legs on this thing, this little fuzzy ball, I don't even know what to call it. And then we look over here, and then we see, again, these have moved over toward that fuzzy thing. And, they're definitely two different craft that had emerged out of that cloud. Now, what's interesting is in the upper hand corner of these photos, we start to see something happening even here. So to me, that also looks like some cloaking craft of some kind. Whether this is isolated or all part of one unit, I'm not sure. Now, when we look at this, we're going to look at 8.1. We're going to go up to 8.2. That's this same setting, as you can see with the cloud tuft there, tufted clouds. Or cloaking material. And then when we get to AA.1, we're going to straight up and look at it 8.2, AA.2. So upper left-hand corner, look at this thing. It's got like two symmetrical legs hanging, and it's kind of elliptical. I have no idea what that is. So is it a cloaking craft? Is it some type of tech that's cloaking? I have no idea. If you have any fun ideas or, concrete ideas on what any of this is, by all means, let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I'm just going to ponder and name a few things I think it could be. But anyway, here we go. Craft emerging from here. Whether this one was already out or also emerged from a cloud nearby, I'm not sure. But they're definitely traveling, in a pair, like a companion set. Okay, we're going to look at this whole situation a little bit more. So now when you look up here, I have B. We're going to track that down, going vertically down. When I have the rest of the scenes, I'm going to refer you to move to the right. So this is just kind of like a freeze frame time lapse here. So we've got the two objects. A little bit later, we just see the one with this weird cloud form. And then relative to that cloud form, it was getting smaller and smaller as if it turned and started moving in the opposite direction. So, it was moving along toward the south, and then at this point, it just looked like it headed straight west. So down below, the sequence below is just the same as above, just with some contrast on it. so you can better see these objects, as they're doing their thing. And then down below the lower left, here's what I'm referring to as B, so it's a bigger, chunkier object. We can see that in the foreground pretty well. And it does have definite shape, and the little one beyond too have depth and dimension to them. So I am definitely saying those are cloaking craft. Now, whose they are, what they do, I am not sure, but I do know that that is not something occurring in nature, and that we can call it advanced tech of some type. All right, this is called Strange Cloud Forms and Cloaking Craft again, because now we're going to look at this feature. So this is a very strange cloud formation. Again, I've lived in the same area coming and going for decades of, being on this planet. I've never seen a cloud form like this, and subtropical to tropical South Florida. And now these types of things, structures, I'm calling it, are popping up a lot. Now, I call it structure because it has very vertical kind of ribs to this thing, and then we get like a smooth shell, happening one layered over the other. And if you look at a previous show, I do talk about how we've never had these really smooth, rounded clouds, especially really low in the atmosphere, again, for decades observing the same area. And if anything that exhibits characteristics in cloud form is something happening high in altitude and cold, dry air. And, we have the exact opposite, dead opposite here, and hot, humid, and almost windless South Florida these days. So, again, here we go. I'm thinking this might also be a craft perched on the top, too, if you saw my previous show. Okay, we're going to go in and zoom in with some contrast, and look, you can just see this is an object. I mean, it's totally smooth. When I say object, it's got intelligent design, symmetry, all of those types of, exhibiting those traits. Then we've got a little bit of cloaking material kind of splintering off here, or, frittering off, however you want to explain it. Just looks really, really odd. Now we're going to look at, again, Cloaking Craft at a cloud rim. This one a little bit different this time, looking south. And this is towards sunset, and we've got some color streaking in here. But these remain really, really white. And if you've looked at some of my other shows, oh, sorry, we just jumped ahead. I don't know what happened there. If you looked at some of my other shows, you will know that whenever I see something that looks pure white, when it's set on the backdrop of all gray or all color, it always gains my interest, and it usually means there's a cloaking craft of some type, or some orb, or some other type of advanced tech happening. So let's prove my theory, see if I'm right on this one. We're going to look up and look to A.1, B.1 and that, and there we go, with some more enhancement on the photo. This, just jumps out as pure white in this as well. And this a little bit back, too, but definitely I can tell there's an object there. There's stuff here, too, but we're just going to focus on the letters for now. And we're going to go in with a little more contrast, gradually closer and with more contrast each time. And again, I'm still making out little shapes here. And finally, when we get to the 0.3s, I definitely see, intelligent design here. Like this would be a cockpit, and that's the bow of the thing, or vice versa. Maybe the bow is over here. And then look at this, looks like a little object jettisoning off of the cloud in this direction with trail behind it. And then C.3, it's a little harder to grasp just because of the range of the camera, but you definitely see some type of object here too, holding its bright white integrity there. So to me, this is definitely 3 objects sitting on the rim of that cloud. All right, now we're just looking at an odd shape and silhouette on this cloud rim. I am calling it Cloaking Craft because of what we'll find with some enhancement on the photos. Here we go, A.1 down below. We still see this odd thing just poking up out of the cloud, and it looks like it has some vapor stuff, hanging off of something more solid beyond. So we're going to look up at 8.2 and see if we see anything better, and voila, we do. We see a little bit more. We see harder structure here. So I don't know if that's one object sitting there perched on some type of a stand, or, if this whole thing is, like a, what do you call it, like a spoiler or something popping up off of another craft that's down here below, and this is just part of it, like a periscope or like a air porthole. But again, with any of these, see what you think. If you have anything good to let me know, a comment about, please do so in the comment section below, even if it's just a totally wild idea or just something of interest. Okay, now we're getting to a sunrise sequence. I'm calling it 1 of 4, so there are going to be 4 slides. I like to usually go through each photo, but for time's sake, I do want to keep this show nice and tight, so I'm going to leave this to you to ponder at your own pace and timing, after the show airs. But anyway, there's just a lot of strange wave activity happening in some of these clouds. This has a painted effect. We've got some beautiful colors happening. This is all a sunrise. What's odd about this one is that we get this really red, pink, peach color happening to the south. away from where even the sunrise technically is coming up. So that's very interesting to me. Anyway, then we look to the northeast. So just kind of look at the tags, see where we're looking at what time, and make some observations on your own with this. Here's another series. We're progressing in time. So from, when it was first, the sunrise was first coming up to later on. So we have weird little oddities. So this is really white. We've got a lot of disturbance in here, which always tells me there's some type of cloaking craft or something above locally generating that atmospheric disturbance. I'll leave that you to kind of speculate what that might be. But here we get a weird thing. We've got red pink happening here, but everything else is pure white, so I'm not sure what's causing that. Similarly here we get bright pinks and purples, and then this blast of white. I do touch on what this could all be in previous shows if you want to have a look there. And also, of course, with all of this, please look at other Sky and Earth watching channels on YouTube if you're not doing so already. Have a look at what everybody's showing as far as direct observations happening all around the world, and come up with some of your own conclusions of what's going on. Whenever I refer to red-pink happening in the atmosphere, do look at my description box below. There's some ideas on what could be causing that. I'm not going to go over it again on this show, but I will in future shows. Anyway, we just progress along. We get some beautiful warm color, and that's important to note coming up for the future at the end of this sequence, how we go from beautiful warm colors to then bright glaring white. But here we go, just have some little oddities noted. We've got some angles, happening up here, so I think there's some type of craft up and above all this. Again, we've got the atmospheric disturbance down here as well. There's just a lot happening in this particular sky. This was on November 10th. Yesterday at sunrise. So again, just going to leave these up to you to kind of look through a little more in your own pace, and we are going to do some enlargements on some of these coming up soon too, so you can see what's going on. So this was important. The whole top row is very important because we're looking east-southeast at sunrise, and things were gold and happening below, as you saw earlier, the warm color, and then we have a bright white source happening here, bridging between. It happens where this heavy cloud blanket's starting to move in, and that's a very common phenomenon happening all around the world. It seems to be targeted and done with purpose. What I'm saying is like weather controlled that this stuff comes in, because it always comes in at sunrise right at the point where we transition from a warmer tone to a bright white glare. And something similar happens to at sunsets, but the purpose is to hide what's happening with the transition of the sun, the bright white ball, as it goes back toward warmer color. So it's very interesting what's going on. As we progress in time, again, we see this same kind of veiling happening to prevent us from seeing exactly what's happening in this key transition from warmer color to white glaring ball. And here it is again. So finally, we progress along until it's just white and glaring and looks nothing warm or like our original sun. And I do talk about this in other shows, why I suspect that this is a solar simulator or some type of advanced tech that's veiling our ability to see our true sun. Do have a look around at that. It's very well documented all over the place. If this is new to you, just dig around on some of my previous shows or again, other Earth and Sky watching channels out there on YouTube. Alright, so now we're going to pull out some enlargements from those sunrise sequences, and this one is in the upper left. It just had that weird painted effect, very muted out, fuzzed out. That's how it looked to the human eye, and so we put a little contrast on it and try to pull some stuff out, and I see some little things bulging out here, but there was nothing like in a relief. Looks like a bas relief almost, but can't really pull too much out of there, but it just was interesting how much color was streaking across looking dead south at sunrise. And similarly here, this is looking a little more southwest even, and just so much color happening in the sky in that direction at sunrise. And then here we go, looking even more toward the west. It's southwest, but more west. We get this. Again, how are we getting... These clouds are all in the same proximity, and yet one little streak here is bright pink, and then the rest has its own character and color. Okay, this is looking northeast, and what's interesting about this, I have letter A, the original's in the upper left, and then the enhancements down here below. And what again catches my attention is this bright white activity amidst all this color. So we're going to have a closer look. What's also interesting is you see a split tail here, like two little feet or legs, split there and split here. So to me, that's all got to be Cloaking Craft. I took the color out of it in this enhanced photo. Just sometimes it's easier for the brain to kind of process stuff and see stuff in a new way when you either take color out in a color photo or put color in if it's black and white. But here we go. Look at this. This looks like it has shadow to it and looks like legs to me. So to me, this is some type of craft, and that's like the back end. Same thing here. We've got a point, with these like legs. And same thing here too, and we get a little sharp point here too. So I think we've got a little convoy of Cloaking Craft going on right here, and that's what I'm going to say about that. Okay, this one, the upper left is the original, and the lower enlarged version is just taking again some color out of it. So these just looked odd, these kind of little formations all over the place, you know, bits and pieces of cloud. I mean, this doesn't happen in our normal skies, you know, of decades past. So I wanted to zoom in. I do see some hard edges, some structure happening here. You know, this is very rounded also at the top. So I don't know, my sixth sense is telling me that these are Cloaking Craft. There's no real, you know, clear gotcha shot on this, but I just wanted to present it to you in case you see some things in there on your own. Okay, and this is again Strange Clouds East at sunrise. So once again, we have color reflecting up in these clouds, or they're gray, and then we get bam, a blast of whiteness happening here. In this case, it looks like it's being subjected to electromagnetic wave activity. You know, things are kind of happening in bands. It looks very disturbed in the atmosphere. And then again, we get some very smooth, you know, looks almost very, you know, engineered pieces happening off this thing. So once again, we've got other little bits of interest with structure and pattern to them. So I'm going to say that that is an overall Cloaking Craft, or it's coming or going, and that's you know, some type of cloaking material and wave method to cloak it. Okay, now this one is just strange cloud grouping. I'm not going to spend too much time on here because I couldn't get at too much with the enhancements, but there was just a weird little fuzz out trail happening through here, you know, just some weird movement in here, and this was bright white at the tip. So I just took the color out and upped the contrast to see if we could find anything concrete. And really all I get to is that this looks more of a cylindrical shape, definitely. And that, you know, there's just some odd things happening here with some really hard edges that pick up. And this is like a ghost-like thing floating in here. So as always, see what you think might be going on in there. All right, well, this is the end of the show, and the photo of the week is just one more. I like to include these little wordplay results, and as I mention always, we don't play for points, and wherever possible, we just use positive or neutral words just to keep it upbeat and fun. So see if any of these words jump out at you, and in the meantime, thank you for puzzling over some things here with me a while. I wish you a beautiful rest of the week, and actually, and more importantly, a gorgeous right now. So as always, best wishes for tremendous peace. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.